cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Welcome back to the channel, Oregon, Colombia, and welcome to yet another Coffee Time Live, going on 4 years. Oh, and thank you for that applause. It's so appreciated. It's another beautiful day in Armenia, Colombia. It's got our typical overcast, little drizzly here and there. We're not getting the big rain that was supposed to happen. It's yet to come. I think in October will really hit hard. Right now, it's about 72 degrees. Kind of nice living in the 70s most of the time. And yeah, I have an announcement. It's not to shut down to become the mayor of Armenia, at least not yet anyway. Hold tight, hold tight. I have to do a little maintenance thing here. And there we go. You know that software that just times out every once in a while? Well, it had timed out. I had to start it up. Blackberry juice today. So last week, we were kind of off topic. We talked about some things that not our typical fare. I mean, usually when we talk about, we have coffee time, we talk about specific topics related to Colombia. And last week was a little off. I mean, most of it somehow related, but it wasn't really a direct conversation about Colombia. Today is going to be somewhat similar. I'm going to talk about some things. I've got a lot planned for the rest of this month in October. And so I want to tell you there'll probably be a couple Sundays where maybe I just can't get to streaming. But first, I really am trying to plan something. I haven't been very specific about it because I kind of like to surprise, because I don't know how these things are always going to shake out. Audio not as loud as normal. Let me take a look. You know, I think I see that. How's that? Looks a little better. Okay, testing. Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably better. Let me know. I hope it is. Thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Thanks for pointing that out. I think I must have bumped a knob here. There's all kinds of buttons and knobs these days. So I want to have an ongoing feature, not on Coffee Time, but as a standalone video, talking to you guys. Think of it as like a video podcast. It's essentially the same thing. I'd like to do one-on-one, but then there'd be some later that maybe we can do 2, 3, 4, 10 people. I don't know. I think 6 is probably maxed out. But I want to do that, and then I'll take certain clips from it, and maybe I'll play those in Coffee Time. These are things that I would record. They wouldn't be live. I would probably go through and do a little bit of editing and then put them up as standalone videos. But I need guests to do that. And I know that there's some of you guys that have very interesting stories about why you're looking for a place to go outside of the US, why you're living in a place outside of the US. I know I've got a few viewers from Thailand. There's one that's in Thailand thinking about moving to Colombia. I think these are not only interesting stories, but I think they're helpful for other people. When you're, coming towards the road of retirement and you're kind of planning out what you're going to do, you've got your various reasons and you're looking for a good place to kind of settle in. And I think this would be a really useful thing for people. But in order to do this, I really need you to volunteer. Now, the last 2 weeks I've asked, send me emails and, help me out here. And I'm not really getting any. I've got one person, who's interested in knowing how to set up a channel. I really need to do 2 or 3 to make it kind of worth the time to do it. I will record those if we ever get them going, and then I'll put them up somewhat edited so that in the future people can look at that and maybe get something out of it. But I really need you to contribute, please. I know that we get financial contributors, and I really appreciate it, and it's going to use here very soon. I'll explain why. But for example, today, Gerald, thank you very much. As you know, I certainly appreciate it. And of course, as always, Juka, Mr. Helsinki himself, 6 hours before the video even started, it was there. So those are great, but I need contributions from you. I don't want this. I've never been comfortable behind the camera. As a matter of fact, I've always hated it. I hate it still. I realize I'm not the most beautiful face you'll see on YouTube. I realize that when I talk, I tend to be monotone. I maybe do too many ums. You really have to be interested in what I'm talking about to suffer through the presentation that I give. And what I would like to do is shake it up a little with some things that are just a little bit different, maybe a little bit more interesting. And I need your help to do that. So please, 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 it's painless. You don't even have to come here. We can do it long distance. You can do it on a laptop. You can do it on your cell phone. And we can put together something. I'll edit it out. So if you say something that you didn't mean to say and you're a little embarrassed, I can cut that out for you. But, please let's do this. I'm tired of hearing me. I'm tired of looking at me. So there's that. So my announcement. Now, as you guys know, I rarely miss a Sunday. This year, I think I missed 1, possibly 2. I went back, not recently, but a few months ago, I went back over the course of the almost 4 years I've been doing the live coffee time. Before I did the live, I recorded the coffee times and put them up. And then one day I just decided to go live. So over the almost 4 years I've been doing these live coffee times, I went back to look to see how many I'd missed. It works out to about 3 times a year. Well, that's pretty good. But then again, what else do I have to live for, right? So I'm pretty good about being on time, but I may miss 1 or 2 coming up, and I'll tell you why. Right now, I'm in the planning stage. I hope to implement it after next week. It's road trip time. I really want to make this happen. I've put most of this together. I've saved these contributions and things, so I think I got it covered. I may have somebody to accompany me. That's a absolute must for me. If you're planning on coming here later this month and in October, and you were planning on using me as a service, please send me off an email in case you forgot. There's my email, so that I can set up a workaround. I don't have to be gone for 3 weeks straight. I can go for, well, one of the road trips is 8-9 days. And then I could return, do what I need to do, go back so I could schedule this out. So what's my plan? Well, the road trip is one, Bucaramanga. Return to Bucaramanga. I want to go to the Simon Bolivar Museo that I never got to go to last time. And while I walked almost the entirety of the city, that was pretty 5 intense days of walking. There, you can't walk an entire city in 5 days, and so there's some places that I didn't hit, and so I want to check that out, make sure I didn't miss anything of interest or importance. So I'm going to go back to Bucaramanga. Plus, there was a lot of interest in Bucaramanga, and I think it'd be good to revive it. So I have that planned. Also, I have planned my long-awaited, long sought-after, probably #1 on my hit list on most days, Salamina. There's a real importance to Salamina to me and to the history of Colombia. The people that founded Manizales came out of Salamina. There's a story to be had there. Now, let me show you something real quick to give you a little point of view. Check this out. Little tiny mountain town, rich with history. And there's some other things in that area related that I'll save those for a surprise. So I want to finally go there and do some videos, probably spend a couple days there. Another place that's just kind of in passing on the way. It's a stopping point. If you're going from this area, let's say you go from Manizales to Bogota, you go through it. If you're in Ibagué and you're going to go to Bucaramanga, you go through it. It's this crossroads that I spent in the past maybe a total of 4 or 5 hours in. And I did a few short video clips there. But it's an interesting place, and I want to actually dig a little deeper. So going to Bucaramanga, I'm thinking about doing an overnight there and spending a number of hours checking the place out. And the place is called Honda, or Honda, but Honda. I think it's kind of fascinating the way it's positioned and how it's just this pass-through town that has grown a lot. So so there's that. Those are my plans coming up. It's going to take a fair amount of money, but like I said, I pretty much got the bulk of that handled. I'm going to have to rent a car. I wouldn't trust mine to make a trip like this. So I'm going to be driving it, which it goes against what I normally do. But in this case, there are places I want to stop at my choice and do some videos. And the downside of a bus is it's great to get point to point. I highly recommend it. I think it's the best way to travel in Colombia. But there are places between those points that this time around, I want to be able to get out and do something about it. And so those are my plans. So this coming week, I'm preparing a lot of things for this to happen. I'll go over your comments here in a minute. I see there's a question. I'll get to that in just a minute. Last thing I want to mention, most of you probably already know this, but in case you don't, as of September 16th, that was 2 days ago, Friday, until October 21st, the visa system in Colombia, the computer system, is shut down. They're rewriting the software. There is no visa transactions that are going to occur. The downside is, thank you, new government, they're dumping any fallout back on you. So, for example, typically what would happen with something like that is you would have an automatic extension, like with COVID. You know, if you were caught up in quarantine or whatever, instead of violating your visa, if you overstayed, for example, you had a time period, and so you had enough time to take care of it. In this case, that's not the case. So if you're supposed to, let's say you're here on a tourist visa and it runs out next week, and you were planning to go renew it because you got plenty of time, you can't do it. There's no transaction taking place. You cannot do it. Up until the 16th, you could get an extension, something like a tax extension. And that was good for 30 days, up to 60 days, depending on the circumstances. But that's passed. So now, here's the deal. If you need to renew your visa or extend a visa or whatever, you're kind of stuck with paying a penalty for overstay, because they're not going to forgive you. I hate it, but that's just how it is. The overstay, if it's less than 30 days, which there'd be no reason for it to be more than 30 days, to be honest with you, but it amounts to about $150. So if you were flying out of the country, for example, you would have to pay that $150 before you could leave. But then your visa's reset, and there's no blowback on you. So there's that penalty. So understand that. And like I said, it's going to be till October 21st. The other thing I will say is the way they rolled this out has been a bit of a nightmare for these visa agents, visa lawyers. It's really been a disaster, because a lot of the nuances about how to do what, how to do this, how to do that, what forms are okay, what ones are not, a lot of this wasn't really established very well. And so there were changes. One that came up with somebody here is the way it was written is the form that was accepted for retirement for Social Security was the one that you would either print out of your computer, or if you went to a Social Security office, they would print it out for you. It was that specific form. Now, with that, they would send it to the American Embassy. They would verify it. They would take care of the apostille. Well, as you know, the American Embassy quit providing that service. Well, that was a form that was allowed before, but they were accepting other things. For example, if you have Social Security, and every year you get, okay, for the next year, here's an account summary. Well, that wasn't legally what was accepted, but since it went through the American Embassy and they verified it and apostilled it, they were accepted. Well, now it's not going through the American Embassy. So if you try to use that same form now, there's a good chance it'll be kicked back. The agents are very confused. Some agents may take it, find it got kicked back, get back to you 2 weeks, 3 weeks later and say, oh, guess what? This one's no good. You're going to have to give me a different one with an apostille. So there's too much confusion about what's happening right now. And the visa offices, agents, and lawyers, they're being inundated by people that are upset over the situation. They're kind of angry at those people because, you know, they're the ones you talk to. But understand where it's coming from. And if you're experiencing something like this, try to work with those agents and try to understand the chaos that they're in the middle of. And they're frustrated, in some cases angry themselves. So just understand that they're not the ones that changed the law, and they're not the ones that have been kind of nebulous about how to get through this. So it's going to be some rough surfing from now until October 21st. The upside is, hopefully, when they rewrite the system, they get a system that's much better than what they've had. But we can hope. As you know, one of the downfalls in Colombia, I don't come up with a lot of negative things, but one of them is computer software, particularly any kind of online software where you're trying to accomplish anything, be it a department store or something through the government, whatever it is. they're a nightmare. Half the time they don't function right, and they can be very frustrating. Okay, so those are my plans. Why I'm kind of short today, because I'm in the midst, I've got people here right now, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you hear the noise in the background, because I'm putting together a number of plans coming up. I'm going to need somebody to, well, I don't need to go through all the detail, but it's a little chaotic. So let's see. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. It's not that I don't have time today. It's just I really didn't have the 4 or 5 hours to put together the topics. You know, I was given it a shot, but I just ended up just occupied. And this morning I ended up having to make breakfast for people. Wasn't planning that at all. So there's that. Let's see what we got. Ooh, anonymous. That's a biggie. Thank you so much. There's about 3 days of a rental car. Awesome. Change your theme to Willie Nelson's musical On the Road Again. Okay, except not allowed. It'll get a copyright strike, and sometimes you get a copyright strike and you can keep it up, but other times they're going to pull it down, or they'll blank it out where there'll just be silence there. It's not legal to do certain things. Now, some artists are more forgiving, others are not. So what we had? Jerry, good morning. Rob from Mexico City. Rob's working on a project I think is fascinating. He's as you know, his Spanish is quite good, and he's down there interviewing these hot chicas in Mexico, posing questions with them, and it's quite the production. He's doing it on a professional level. It's pretty impressive, and I got some behind the scenes clips. And he's not planning currently to put subtitles, but I think he's greatly going to limit himself, because the people are going to be most interested in that are sitting in the United States. So I'm trying to encourage him to put subtitles. There's various ways to do that. So we'll see. Audio is not loud as normal. We got that taken care of. Buenos dias from Chicago, Papa. Change your theme song, got that one. How did you first learn of Salamina? When I was living in Manizales, you guys that watch on a regular basis, you know I tend to, I mean, what do you do when you're retired? You know, it's like, aside from videos, you can sit and watch TV all day. And there's some days I'll do that, but not very much. You get tired of sitting or leaning or whatever. And I don't know, you just kind of, But one of the things that I always enjoyed doing is research. And so if there's a particular thing that piques my interest, then I'll start digging into it. And when I was living in Manizales, I went to Chipre, the park, Chipre Park. And there's statues that are just fascinating. It's not a statue, it's a series of these bronze type metal statues showing this, I guess you'd almost call it a wagon train without the wagons, of these people, men, women, and children, climbing mountains. And these statues are staged in such a way that they're actually elevations coming up a mountain, and then at the peak. And there's a woman holding a baby up like this. There's oxen. It's extremely well done. It's fascinating. And it's like, obviously there's a story about this. So I quickly learned that these were the founders of Manizales and the hardships that they went through. It was an unbelievable journey that they took. And you have to wonder, why would people go through so much effort to get to a place that's just inaccessible? And digging into that, trying to understand that story, is when I learned that Salamina was a jumping off point. And Salamina has been the jumping off point for a number of places throughout Quindío, for example. It's a place that travelers, adventurers would gather, plan their trips, and leave from Salamina, headed off to places that would kill you. Cliffs and just inaccessible places. And if you've ever been to Manizales, just the road itself is a task. Now, it's a beautiful new highway. I mean, it's not like the road is dangerous, but it's really winding, and you see the terrain, and you're just trying to picture, how can I climb that? I mean, unless you're a professional mountain climber, how on earth did they do it? Men, women, children, the oxen, all their worldly possessions. How did they climb these mountains and establish this gorgeous city called Manizales? So that's how I learned about it, by digging a little deeper. It's how I go off into these rabbit holes, be it politics or you name it, history mostly. Something will pique my interest and I'm not satisfied with whatever is on the surface. And I end up, sometimes I'll spend weeks on a topic trying to understand it, put it in perspective, trying to get past bias of some information that's out there and try to find some semblance of reality. I guess you'd say it's my hobby, and in a way it's always been. I remember when I got out of high school, I thought I was a socialist because I had a teacher she was hot, and she invited me and a couple other people to her house in Naples, New York. And we go in there and she puts on an album of Bob Dylan and she starts smoking weed. I think at the time I hadn't smoked weed yet. I was 15 when I first smoked weed. I think I was 14. And so we go in there, she's dressed in a hippie sundress, smoking weed, Bob Dylan. And as you guys know, if you don't know much about the world and you don't have a lot of experience, socialism is very seductive. It's very attractive. So I thought I was a socialist. But when I first decided to vote, I didn't know who to vote for. And I didn't know much about political parties. And so we didn't have internet, of course, at the time. So I went to something that still exists somewhere. I went to the library. And I asked the librarian where I could get information because I was seeing on TV commercials that claimed, don't vote for this evil man because he voted for something or he voted against something. And it's like, well, how do I know if that's true? So I asked the librarian, and she sent me to the back, and there was these huge books, huge. It was a congressional record, and there were just stacks of them. And you could pull them out, and there was a way to search, but you could pull them out and you flip this big thing over. So I would sit in the back of the library, taking up an entire table myself, going through these congressional records, figuring out who voted for what, and looking at the speeches that were, the statements given on the floor of the House and the Senate. So I guess I've been afflicted with this forever. I mean, probably the worst one was religion, where I spent a couple years deep diving into various religions. And so, maybe it's an illness. I used to have OCD. I broke myself of it when I was sick in bed for those couple years. I broke myself of it. What I used to do, I would have to go to the bathroom. Well, I couldn't walk to the bathroom. I was in my own apartment. So I would crawl off the couch or the bed, depending on where I was, and I would have to crawl on my hands and knees to go into the bathroom. It was very difficult and personally humiliating for me to do that. I hated myself every time I had to do it. But when I would come back, I would see something, like maybe there was a pen on a table next to the TV, for example. I would take it and put it askew a little bit, and then I'd go back and get on the couch. And then I would sit there and stare at that thing, and it would just drive me up a wall, drive me crazy. but the humiliation of getting off that couch unless you have to, I mean, it was something to fight against. And eventually, over those couple years, I taught myself to let this stuff go. So maybe it's related to that. I don't know, but I've never lost that craving to know the truth, know the reality. And of course, watching this, that when I talk about a topic, if I don't know, I say I don't know. I even apologize if I'm wrong. But if I'm standing firm on something, it's probably because I learned as much as I could possibly learn about it. So there's that. Jabi, greetings from Miami. What car rental agency is best in Armenia? I'll be there on October 2nd. We are going to hit a few places and end up in Manizales. Okay, first of all, I don't recommend you rent a car. Having said that, I don't remember the name of it. Send me an email and I'll send you the name. It's kind of a long name. I rent from an agency out of Pereira. They deliver to me and come pick it up. There is one in Armenia. Somebody here was telling me that they rent from there, but you have to go pick it up and you have to return it there. By the time, it is a little bit cheaper, but by the time you put the cost of the taxis and your time and stuff, to me it's more expensive. I've been using the one out of Pereira for a long time, and they're very good to me. They're very, very good to me. Driving a car here is a pain in the butt. And unless you have specific reason to do it, like from what you're describing, personally, I would take a bus and taxis. I would not rent a car for it. But, go for it. Have fun. For a lot of people, it works out fine. It's just, why take the risk of walking through a minefield if you can just completely bypass it and achieve what you want to achieve? There's that. For example, you get to Manizales. Guess what? You're going to have to park your car somewhere anyway because you're not going to be able to drive around through Manizales. It becomes more of a pain in the butt. I'm doing it for a very particular reason. Like I said earlier, normally I would take a bus to do this, but there's some places that I want to stop in between that I've seen through the windows of the bus. And this time around, I'm going to stop. And why am I doing that? Because I do videos. If I were touristing, I'd be happy with just the places I was going to. So for whatever it's worth. Libraries, unfortunately, are few and far between in Colombia. That's true. Library system in the United States and in Canada are pretty unusual. They're rare as compared to the world. There is a library right in central here in Armenia, but the library system is absolutely not what it was in the U.S. Now, in the U.S., from what I understand, they're all but fossils these days anyway, because everybody's got a computer and the internet. Sadly, it's so difficult to find good information. For example, when I tell you guys I dig deep into trying to find information, people say, well, you can look on Wikipedia. No, you can't. Not if you want real information, because Wikipedia is just put there by whoever. And I found so many times where Wikipedia is either outright false or it's misleading. And so I don't get my information from Wikipedia. It would be nice. It's easy, but it's not real. Or at least flip a coin if it's real. You don't know if it's real. So you have to dig for sources. And that takes a lot more work. And if more people did that, they'd probably spend more time in the libraries. Okay. Also, going into Las Nevadas National Park from Manizales is really worth it. Yeah, it's ugly to me. See? Oh, no. Everything's not everyone's cup of tea. And it doesn't hold a lot of interest for me. Like going to the Amazon. For some people, the Amazon is like their dream. You know, it's their life's ambition. And for me, I could care less if I get within 100 miles of the Amazon. It represents endless mosquitoes. And when I tell you guys I hate mosquitoes, it goes a lot deeper than just that. Out of Pareda will deliver and pick up the cars. I don't know who that is, but that's not who I use. And I've got a long-time working relationship with these people. I get deals from them. They throw in a lot of extras. I don't have to put deposits down. I don't have to use a credit card. They just bring me the car. They have my information. They throw me the keys. I have to put my fingerprint on the thing, and that's it. That's the end of it. Localize is a rental agency. Yeah, that's the one in Armenia. Yep. You have to go there. What was it? Suzuki's. Their cars, maybe not quite as good. Well, the one that I go to, it has whatever you want. You can go from a little roller skate, a little subcompact. You can get automatics in just about anything. You can get mid-size passenger cars. They got a whole lineup of SUVs. You can get Chevy Trailblazers. You basically soup to nuts. You can get whatever you want. So it's another reason I like them. For example, Emil, he needed me to pick him up at the airport when he was returning to Colombia, and he had, God, I don't know, 50 suitcases. You know, his wife and a couple backpacks and 187 suitcases. And so I got, at first I thought, you know, this is probably a waste because, you know, the bigger you get, the more expensive it is. But I said, well, okay, I better get this one. Well, everything just fit. And this was a big, I don't remember what it was. It might have been a Chevy Trailblazer. I don't remember what it was, but it was a big SUV. And his 395 suitcases just fit in there. So it's nice that they, you know, that they had this range of vehicles. Wiki is leftist propaganda most of the time. Even the original owner who sold his shares says this. Well, it isn't just that, but that's true. You have a lot of people that have their own agendas for whatever reason, and it corrupts the information. So it's not like some things, it's not like CNN where it's, you know, built and designed and produced by, you know, communists. It's not like that. Wikipedia is an equal opportunity platform where anybody with an agenda can mess it up, and that's what happens. They also have Chevy and VW. Now, Chevy is a very popular brand here, too. Could you remind us of the YouTube channel of a Colombian lady I believe you recommend? Afro Guajira. Somebody can post the link in there or type her name in or something like that. You would pronounce it Guajira, but it's Afro Guajira, all one word. She hasn't been putting many out lately. I don't know what goes on in her life. I just know that for a long time, her videos, that's it, thank you. I would put her videos on. Recently, not so much. It's been very different recently, last couple months. But prior to that, I found her videos always interesting, half the time hilarious, covering topics that no one else covers. Like, she's from this poor little village in the middle of nowhere, and she moved back there from Bogota, and she was unashamedly showing how people live in their backyards and how they prepare food. And some people who aren't familiar with the culture might look at it and be horrified. Other people, you know, I get it. I mean, I lived here before. I know pretty much all the differences of culture in Colombia. For me, I'd be very comfortable there. But if you've never been out of the United States, for example, imagine going to the poorest part of Appalachia for the first time. You know, it's kind of shocking. So she was posting up videos for things that other people weren't. She was just posting the reality of people's lives. And not that it's like, oh, these poor people. These poor people are living extremely happy with a sense of community and a sense of tradition, and celebrate. The whole community celebrates out in the street various holidays. Some of those holidays were specific to that town, that village. It's a wonderful way of life in reality, if you grew up in it and you're part of it. And she was very good at showing those things. And I loved that. I loved her videos. They were very entertaining. And before that, when she would travel around, go to different places, I loved it. Recently, like I say, it's been a lot different. I think she's trying to grow her channel the way people traditionally grow it. Like, I know she had a sponsorship by a hotel, beautiful hotel. I get why she was excited about it. But on the other hand, it's just a hotel. We've all seen them. It's something, as far as I was concerned, you could just kind of mention in a video, hey, if you're going to come here, this would be a good place to stay. I wouldn't do 2 or 3 videos about it. But, you know, I get that she's trying to make this her career. She's trying to pay off her car. She bought a new car, a Suzuki. It cost about $10,000 here, new. And so I get what she's trying to do. But her authentic self, to me, was money. To me, it was awesome. I just loved it. She hasn't posted a video for 2 weeks. Yeah, she's been kind of hit and miss lately. And when that happens, either you're kind of fading away from it, or you're trying to develop something. You're trying to create something new. It's what I'm doing right now. You know, when you go through that, you only have so much time and energy. And so sometimes you just got to lapse on the videos for a while. I haven't been doing man on the street videos or travel videos in a while because, frankly, for several months I was going through a nondescript illness. I had no energy. There were some issues I was dealing with. Plus, getting here in Armenia, there's hardly a street in Armenia that I haven't already put on video. So going and doing the video, okay, maybe somebody didn't see it because it was 3 years ago, but they could do a search. To me, it just isn't logical, unless there's some major change. It isn't logical to me to go out and do the same place on a video twice, 3 times, 4 times. And so hence I stick with, you know, coffee time. But now I'm feeling better, and I'm pent up with desire to get back out there, hit the road again, on the road again. And oh, copyright strike. See, I told you. I really liked her video about La Loca Boogeyman. Yeah, that was interesting, and that was unique to that town, although there are some variations of that celebration throughout Colombia in different places. But it's kind of a dying thing. I mean, it's fading away, and in that town, it's still alive and well. That particular celebration's been going on 100, maybe 200 years. And so I see that kind of video, and I just love that. And then some are others where the abuelas are cooking up different things, and how it's so Colombian, how they're relating the food that they were cooking to sexual body parts. Like there was something they were cooking, but their nickname for it is the clitoris. You know, and that's so Colombian. That wasn't staged for her video. That's what grandmas do. They're a little bawdy, you know. They just find it hilarious to throw these things out there. They're kind of shocking and not so proper which is pretty funny because their daughters and granddaughters are expected to be so conservative and so proper. But once you get to be the grandma, you can call your dinner clitoris pie if you choose. So it's videos like that that I just love them. Some of those videos took me back to when I was here years ago, and I just love that she did. Nobody else does that. Nobody. And so I miss those. I'll keep watching. Keep watching for that from her. But I hope she doesn't, start putting together the corporate accepted channel that, goes and does sponsorships and stages things in a certain light. And I don't know how to explain it, but I just don't care for that. We got way too many of those in Colombia already. I swear it's either stylized sponsorship videos solely created to make money, or it's guys that are out showing the butts of the girls walking down the street and talking about where the red light districts are. It seems like those are most of the videos in Colombia, and I don't watch them. I'm sick of them. How about the tradition of burning a large straw dummy filled with straw and fireworks in the street? Yeah, that's throughout South America. We had that in Ecuador too. Yeah, burning in effigy, it's a big thing. It definitely is a bigger thing in Ecuador than here. So it's here, it exists. In Ecuador, it's much bigger. It's fascinating, and there's more to it. For example, in the time this is going on, you're coming up on New Year's basically, but it's not a particular day, it's a period of time. You have these guys dressed as women, the original trans, in the street, and as you're going in taxi or driving in a car, they're stopping you and demanding a fee so you can continue on. And of course you don't have to, and there's a lot of joking going on. There's nothing frightening about it. There's a story behind it. I don't want to go on forever, but it's all part of this different, unique celebration that takes place in Ecuador, Colombia. I will say that the Christmas celebrations in Ecuador are second to none. They are fantastic, amazing, worth going. Christmas here, it's awesome, but it's more what you're used to. It's maybe a little more commercialized here, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I love the cultural aspect of what goes on in Ecuador. There's a lot of things I'm not crazy about in Ecuador, but that's one of the things that I give high marks. And whenever I talk about going back and visiting friends, I'm always saying if I go back, it's going to be around Christmas time because it's special. And I did a number of videos on a couple different Christmases in Cuenca, Ecuador, that if you get a chance to look those up, it's quite a time. On New Year's Eve, right? Or the liars lying by omission is a biggie for some YouTubers. Well, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of clickbaiters out there, but it's what it is. Some of them are popular. All of them probably get more views than I do. So if you're looking to get views, those are tactics that they work for a reason. I'm just here, ugly old toad plodding away with mundane information. Only going to get views from people that have an interest to actually get that kind of information. Mike Jarvis, a late good morning. How are you living in paradise? He's officially moved out and living in Pueblo Tapao. Every once in a while, he'll send me a photo out his picture window where he's overlooking the world. You can see Armenia off in the distance. In the mountains beyond that, it's pretty spectacular. In some ways, I envy him. Maybe he'll invite me out every so often so I can spend a weekend. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. Okay, regards from Pereira. Howdy. I don't recognize your name. Are you new here? Cantine? I don't recognize that name. If you are, welcome. Okay. I don't know if you have any more questions, that's fine. So a last reminder, please, please, please send me an email if you're interested in being in essentially a podcast that I'll record and post up, basically telling your story. Or if there's no interest in it, I'll just toss it aside. I've been working out some new software. I have a vision of what I would like to do, but if nobody's interested in it, then we'll just do what I've always done, different types of videos. I do basically 4 kinds of videos. And lately I've just been doing the live one. So last call for any kind of questions. My blackberry juice almost gone. I don't know if you had noticed, but while I was here doing this video, somebody decided to help me out and sweep and mop my floors. And so I'm doing this video, and under my big table here, my foot gets hit with this big old wet mop. And so I don't know if you noticed it, but it was a cold, wet mop that slopped over my bare foot. Yeah, so I'm trying to just continue on without a what the hell. All right, that's it. It's last call. All right, well, I'll find out later who the Mr. Anonymous is. I really appreciate it, and I'll continue to plan. Let's see, maybe you could bring on some more Colombians and chat with them live. That could be cool. Yeah, most of the people, here's my issue. Most of the people that I know here speak very little English, if any English at all. And not to say my Spanish is great, but I can muddle by. But the problem is, if I bring them in, I would like to do that, but my viewers, the 99% of my viewers won't understand what they're saying. So what would be the point? And sometimes if they're here in a video, they'll have a tendency to just start, talking fast. Then I struggle with it. Outside of the video, I remind them to slow down. I don't think it would make good viewing. I've thought about this. The only way I could maybe do it is if I recorded it and spend my life doing subtitles, which I tried for a while, but it just doesn't. Me doing subtitles that way, not being fluent in Spanish, it's very problematic. So that's why. But I would love to get other people here, and I say it's kind of like it really is a podcast where I have 1-2 people. We could talk about a topic, but I would like to get it started by talking about people's motivations. So, why are you watching Coffee Time? What is it you're looking for? What are your plans? What are you looking to do? Why do you want to do that? What's your motivation for that? I think it's not only interesting to me, but I think it is interesting to others. And I also think that it could be helpful to others. So please consider it. I really want to do this, but like I say, if there's no interest, there's no point. Is she super hot? We won't need understand. Yeah, most of them probably fit in that category. Very true. Yeah. Yeah, most of them probably fit in that category. I mean, look, if you got to have friends, what's the point in having ugly ones? Thank God they don't say that about me. All right. I think I'm getting myself in trouble now. So you got my email. It's there on the screen. Please, please think about it. And tomorrow night, go Bills. Ciao.
Wow.